Welcome to this week's episode of Hockey Unfiltered with Ken Campbell. I am the sidekick Dylan Waugh. I am the Art Garfunkel to Ken's Paul Simon. I was going to say the other guy. We're going to be talking this week about the Colorado Avalanche. We're going to be talking about Claude Giroux. We're going to be talking about Henrik Lundqvist. And speaking of Hank, who is the NHL's version of Tom Brady? Check us out on Twitter. Review, like, subscribe. All that good stuff is appreciated. Now let's get to the show. Ken, how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah?
I still marvel at the fact that you composed and performed the lead-in music.
Yeah.
Like, how do you play the guitar and the drums at the same time? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, it involves having multiple arms.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Multiple sets of arms, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I overdub and I.
Yeah, no, I know. No, I really thought you were playing guitar and drums at the same time.
Well, haven't you seen those one-man bands? Yeah. You know, they kick their right leg and one drum. Then
I actually have a buddy who does that in New Brunswick. In New Brunswick, yeah.
Get out of town.
Yeah, he's amazing. I went to see him play. His name is Donnie Rogers.
Right.
And he's a goalie too. And he was based out of Moncton. He was in a band. He was in a band called Glamour Puss. They were actually a really good sort of blues band.
Yeah.
And I went to see them play once in Toronto. And at one point in one of the songs, he was playing the saxophone with one hand and the piano with the other. And
really?
I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, how does a person do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways,
I went to see Rush when they were in Toronto, and of course Neil Peart, who's passed away now.
Yeah.
In his drum solo, and drum solos are just the most boring, stupid aspects to any show ever. It's the NHL skills competition to actual NHL hockey, right? But he played the xylophone while doing the drum solo, so there was actually melody to it.
Wow.
Right? And I'm a deadhead who hates drum solos. So, I mean, like, that should be saying just how much I hate them, right?
Wow.
But yeah, he played the xylophone while playing a drum solo, which is just, like, incredible. He's a true percussionist.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyways, listen, speaking of drum solos.
And xylophones. You ever notice when you do an A to Z thing, like A is for this, B is for that?
Yeah,
X is always
xylophone.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
So
speaking of the best all-time drummer, Tom Brady confirmed his retirement after 22 years. These are the most tortured segues possible. 22 years, 7 championship career. Who is the NHL's version of Tom Brady? And that's not to necessarily say the best NHL player of all time,
right?
But rather somebody who came into the league completely unheralded.
Yeah.
And made an incredible career for himself.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of guys in hockey that fit that profile.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's something
Scouting in hockey sucks.
Yeah, well, I think, and I've been thinking about this. So, like, the reason why it happens in hockey a lot more than football is in hockey, there's an 18-year-old draft. In football, for the most part, you've got guys who have played college football for 4 years.
Right.
And they're 22. So you have a much better idea coming into the league who's going to be a star and who isn't going to be a star, right? Yeah. So they take, there's 4 years of uncertainty that's taken right out of the equation in football. And I think that's why it happens a lot less in football and basketball.
Yeah.
As opposed to hockey and baseball, where you see these guys come out of nowhere all the time. So anyways, that being said, there are quite a few guys. You have to take a look at a guy like Marty St. Louis.
Yeah.
A guy who wasn't drafted, went through waivers, tried to catch on with several organizations, found a home in Tampa. Like Tom Brady, started to take a lot better care of his body and that sort of thing, and then became an NHL superstar.
What little there was to take care of.
Exactly. Won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I saw him one time when I was down in the bowels of what is now called the Amalie Arena. It wasn't that then. And his legs were ridiculous. Like, I just could not believe how big his legs were.
That's the legend.
Yeah. So there's Marty St. Louis. There's any number of guys. I guess the guy I would go with is Nick Lidstrom.
Yeah.
I think a 4th round pick in probably the best draft that any team has ever had. When the Detroit Red Wings got got Mike Sillinger, Dallas Drake, Nick Lidstrom. Who else? They got a whole whack of guys, like Hall of Fame guys, Fedorov.
Yeah.
So anyways, so he was a lot lower in that draft than he actually would have been. Mm-hmm. And then he comes here and, he's the best defenseman for, the better part of 15 years, 20 years. Yeah. Like he's one of the greatest defensemen to ever play the game. Probably. Yeah. I'm going to say he's the best European born player that's ever played.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody was expecting that.
Yeah.
When Nick Lidstrom first came onto the scene, back in the 90s.
Yeah. So I want to mention two things. One, just because obviously, member of Montreal media, sort of, so to speak here. When Weber got traded to Montreal and then was being compared to Nick Lindstrom, hilarious. Wow. Funniest thing that I saw in my life.
People were doing that even then?
People were comparing. When he got traded, it was like, well, he's older, but he could be a Nick Lindstrom style defenseman.
Yeah, but see, what you're saying is they were saying he was Nick Lindstrom. They weren't saying he was Nick Lidstrom. They were saying some guy named Nick Lindstrom.
Who played Bantam AAA in the 90s. Before I mention who I think is mine, I've got a question for you. Do you think that the reason why hockey scouting, on top of the issue that you mentioned about a 22-year-old draft, do you think that part of the reason why hockey scouting is difficult is because skills are not necessarily as translatable into the NHL? Like, for example, the fact that we're seeing the Michigan-style goal all of a sudden in the NHL, but for a long time that was considered the white whale, was considered not something that was doable at NHL speeds. So somebody could have the best hands and the best shot and the best skating and still not be able to be an NHLer.
Well, it's hard to not be an NHL player when you've got the best hands, the best shot, and the best skating.
Some of these guys are dumb as a bag of bricks,
yeah,
though,
some
and then
of them are. Some
they
of them
don't know how to put a pass, right?
Usually it's skating. Usually it's skating that keeps you out. That's the one that kind of, that's the one I think that separates the wheat from the chaff at the NHL level is you've got a lot of guys in the American League who could put up, 100-point seasons in the American League till the cows come home.
Right.
But they can't keep up at the NHL level, and they end up being the guys who come up for a little while, look pretty good, and then end up tailing off and end up back in the minors or in Europe or whatever. Yeah. So for me, I think it's skating is the biggest thing for sure. Yeah.
So my pick for this is honestly, it seems like the most obvious one is Pavel Datsuk.
Yep.
And I just want to list off a few things from his career here. 2 Stanley Cups, 1 Gagarin Cup, 3 Selkies, 4 Lady Bings with crossover, which is incredible because, defenders tend to have to be kind of, dirtbags to make it work. So the fact that he can win a Selkie and a Lady Bing, I think is pretty impressive and would just piss off Cherry to no end. So we'll just move on from that. Nominated for the Hart.
Yep.
Olympic gold medal, albeit with an asterisk because it was with the Olympic athletes from Russia. So not during the whatever. And he has a Gordie Howe hat trick in his career, with the fight being against Corey Perry.
That's pretty ballsy.
I think so, especially because it was a young Corey Perry then, right?
Well, that's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a member of the best named line in hockey, in my opinion. 2 Kids and an Old Goat, which that was the line with Zetterberg and Hull. Mm-hmm. So, and then going into some advanced stats for his 2007-2008 season, 3rd best Corsi for percentage in the NHL, 2nd best goals for percentage in the NHL, 3rd best expected goals for percentage in the NHL. Yeah, but I'm not pandering to you.
Okay,
we're pandering to a younger audience. Okay. The hipster crowd, right, with the glasses and the me.
Okay.
2nd lowest shots against per 60 when he was on the ice in the NHL. 7th lowest scoring chance against per 60 on the NHL. 20th best individual points per 60 in the NHL, and the best takeaways per 60 by almost 2 full takeaways over Louis Eriksson while he was in the NHL. And that's for the 2007-2008 campaign. The bottom line is that no matter what stat you look at, he was one of the top 10 in the NHL That's amazing.
See, I didn't even buy any of your argument until you came up with the shots against, expected shots against something or other. And then it was like, yeah, you got me now.
It was second lowest shots against per 60.
Right.
While he was on the ice.
Right.
So.
Who's first? Forget it. I don't care.
You don't care that much?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I just thought
point.
Maybe since you knew who was second, you'd know who was first.
Why would I take
is this all
detailed
time?
notes?
Is this all time? This is
for 2007, 2008.
Okay.
This is specifically for his Hart Vezina, Hart Vezina. Hart. I'm such a goalie guy.
He's so good. He was a Vezina candidate.
He was so good defensively that they just said, you know what? Chris Osgood, let's be honest with ourselves here. Let's be real.
Okay.
Yeah. This is for his 2007, 2008 campaign.
Okay.
So
that Detroit draft that I was talking about, 1989.
Yeah.
So I forgot about Bob Bugner and Vladimir Konstantinov in that draft.
Those guys were okay too.
That's the best draft any team's ever had.
Yeah, possibly.
And the funny thing about that draft in 89 was they were going to take Pavel Bure. But there were at the time, and their European scout Christer Rockstrom said, like it had to do something with the number of games he played at the international level or the men's level.
Yeah.
And they thought he was one short. The NHL thought he was one short.
Right.
And Christer Rockstrom said, no, I know he's played enough games and I can prove it. And so they passed on picking him in whatever round. And then they were going to pick him in the next round. And Vancouver was picking a couple of picks before and took him.
Wow.
So Pavel Bure would have been part of that draft too.
Yeah. Would have made the best draft better.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so I think it was last week when we were talking about Vancouver's front office, and you were basically talking about the market inefficiency of the fact that they're of hiring women, of hiring visible minorities, and the fact that other people are not, and Europeans and other people are not necessarily dipping their toes into that pool as eagerly as Vancouver is. And so you're saying you're getting the best of the best.
Right. Right.
And I mean, if that doesn't describe Detroit's drafting through the 90s,
right,
in terms of Europe, in terms of Russia specifically, then I don't know what does.
Christer Rockstrom was a genius.
Yeah.
Is a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a good...
He didn't take a big hit in the head lately.
No, I don't think so. No.
Become much less of a genius.
I don't even think he's with Detroit anymore.
No, I don't think he is either.
Yeah. I think I can't remember where he is right now. He's not with Dallas. I'm not sure. Anyways, I probably should know that. So
it's your podcast.
Yeah.
So moving on, Henrik Lundqvist recently retired his number by we didn't, but the New York Rangers did.
Yep.
And which is, I think, a no-brainer.
Yes.
There's no doubt he is an all-time Rangers great, possibly being even better than Mike Richter in terms of all-time Rangers goaltenders.
Yep.
But is he one of the NHL's greatest all-time goalies? And you have here, does he go directly to the Hockey Hall of Fame without passing go? And I'm assuming passing go is a euphemism for not winning a Stanley Cup.
Or just like first ballot, right? He's not first ballot because there is no ballot. But is he in?
Yeah.
Like without question. That's the question.
Is he?
He's in. Yeah. Yeah, he's in.
And it's without question.
No, it's not without question.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
He'll get in. When did he stopped play? He didn't play last season, right? He didn't play at all last season.
Correct.
Okay, so that was the 2021 season.
But he was signed.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. If you don't play, that counts as a year towards your Hall of Fame eligibility. So 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23, he'll be in the class of 2023, the Hall of Fame class of 2023. I don't think that there's any question. I think he will for sure.
Yeah.
Is it a slam dunk? No, not in my opinion. It's not.
No?
No.
Is it the cup that prevents it from being a slam dunk?
Yeah, win something. Yeah. Just win something.
Win something.
Just win something.
Yeah.
And okay, yes, he won the Olympic gold medal. Yes, he won a world championship. But it's not like this guy put together 10 seasons of Vezina trophies.
Yeah.
He won one.
Right.
I mean, he was a finalist lots of times, but he won one. Yeah. I think part of the prism that you look through this is that is you look at it through the New York Rangers prism, where it's like, how great was he as a Ranger? And he's an all-time great Ranger. Mm-hmm. But the Rangers have been epically bad historically.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're like among the original six.
Yeah, it's
they are the by far the least successful franchise. Like by a country mile are the least successful franchise of the original six. Like it's almost mind-boggling to see how bad they've been for such long periods of time.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's part of it too. But yeah, I do think he's going to get in first ballot, but I don't think it's like if I were voting, it wouldn't be a slam dunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me,
Christopher Rockstrom is scouting from Montreal. You should have known that.
I mostly just complain about their on-ice performance. For me, Henrik Lundqvist ruined goaltending in the same way that the Beatles ruined music. And in the same way that Tiger Woods ruined golf.
Okay.
After the Beatles started releasing their hits, it almost taught the rest of the music world, this is how you make money on music. And so all of a sudden, every producer was trying to put somebody into that box of, we want that 2.5 minutes. She loves you. Yeah. Right. And similar with Tiger Woods, after Tiger Woods started winning everything, everybody was like, that's how you swing a golf club. There is no other way to swing a golf club. And I think that it's only now that we're kind of undoing the damage of once Henrik Lundqvist started playing goal, people are like, that's what a goalie should do. There's no other way to play goal. That drop and block kind of style was incredibly prevalent and basically defined a generation. And because of that, I think he's got to go in.
Interesting. Okay, because you spent like 45 seconds bashing him.
No. I mean, this is the thing is that he, just like the Beatles and just like Tiger Woods, they came by it honestly. Yeah. But they kind of ruined their respective professions because, or at least for many, many years, right? Because they created, everything became formulaic and copying them.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So guys like golfers that will never have the flexibility and power of Tiger Woods are being told to swing like Tiger Woods, but you got a different body. Swing for your body, right? And similar to with goaltenders, now we can't draft a goalie under 6'2" because we want him to play like this.
Right.
Well, I've got an idea. Why don't you let him play like how his body dictates he should play?
Yeah.
And then maybe he'll be good. And we're only now seeing that with UC Saros. He looks nothing like Hank, right? And he's playing and getting success. And of course, we should have seen it because, of course, Jonathan Quick is another example of a shorter goalie that plays in a completely different style, but we're only now really breaking the mold. So I do think that he's a Hall of Famer, if only because he defined a style of goaltending.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that's enough. I think you have to look at his accomplishments and are they good enough to get him in? I mean, 6 times he was a Vezina finalist. So for 6 of the years of his career, he was a top 3 goalie in the NHL.
Right.
And once he was deemed to be the best.
Yeah.
You know, 1 Olympic gold medal in 2006, World Championship a couple of years ago. You know, but that lack of Stanley Cup, I think hurts him a bit. But yeah, he's definitely in. And to your point about the drop and the drop. What did you call that? His style, drop and block.
Drop and block,
yeah. I mean, it drives me nuts. I see goalies do it now, like these 6'6" goalies, making themselves small.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a goalie expert by any stretch of the imagination, like not even close. Mm-hmm. But that one I just don't understand. Like if you're big, why would you not continue to make yourself big? Why do you make yourself smaller and get shots over your shoulder because you were on
Yeah, I mean that relates to the positioning of those guys as well, and it's anyways. There's a million different reasons.
But you see these guys score from like this far off the red line, and they put it in the top corner, and everybody's like, "Wow, whoa, what skill and everything." That's just bad freaking goaltending.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, but I guess my point is that if you do a drop and block, but you're in a good position, then you're over your shoulder should not actually be a trajectory that the puck can take towards the net.
Okay, well,
right. So, or your glove is in a bad position or whatever. But anyways, there's a goalie coach here in Toronto named Mike, who was the first private goalie coach in basically Canada. And I've had the pleasure of working with him, the mixed pleasure of working with him. He's a bit of a character for those that know Mike. But Mike, he played pro in like Italy or something crazy like that, right? Anyways, but he always says goalies need to start holding their gloves like a baseball player.
Okay.
And goalies right now are just holding their gloves where the puck is most likely to hit it, as opposed to where they're most able to reach out and grab the puck from different angles. And that's a result of the drop and block style.
Okay.
Right. And that's to your point of what they're saying. Guy just drops down, puck goes over his shoulder. Where the heck was the glove?
Yeah.
Right. So
we're in agreement that Henrik Lundqvist is a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Is he a slam dunk in your opinion? Like, is he a easy peasy, no question? Like you're out of your mind if you don't think that he should be in first shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have to say it because of how he completely redefined goaltending. Okay. Right. And
yeah, but did he redefine goaltending or did Francois Allaire redefine goaltending?
Well, that's a whole other story, the Francois Allaire thing, which I could get into some behind the scenes stuff about that until the cows come home. But yeah, I mean, you're right to question that, I guess. So, I mean, he did because he also worked with Bauer on designing the pads, and he worked with them on the technology even that exists
on making them bigger.
Yeah. What I was hoping is that my leg pad could extend up and over my head. But he worked on designing the technology and the feel and all the rest of it. So I mean, I'd say that he had a lot personally to do with what a modern NHL goalie is.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're like me, your team missed the big game this year, but MyBookie's double deposit bonus makes sure that you won't. Sign up at MyBookie now using my promo code HockeyUnfiltered, all one word, to have your first deposit matched instantly so you can get in on all the action of Super Bowl 56. The only way watching the biggest game of the year could get any better is to get paid doing it, and MyBookie gives you everything you need to do it. With double your money, you can double your winnings. And the best starting point for the big game is with Super Bowl prop bets. Whether it's on or off the field, there's no shortage of wagers to choose from for the Super Bowl. So get in on the action, let the confetti fall, and walk away a winner. Don't miss out. Head to MyBookie and double your first deposit up to $1,000 by using promo code HockeyUnfiltered, all one word. Place your bets and get ready for the unmatched excitement of the Super Bowl. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Shall we move off of Hank?
Yes, absolutely.
And on to Claude?
Absolutely.
Claude Giroux is going to sit down with his agent, Pat Brisson, at the All-Star festivities this weekend to decide whether he'll waive his no-movement clause, which would allow him to be dealt at the trade deadline. If that does happen, which team do you think would be the best fit and what would it take?
Okay, well, yeah, it's really interesting because this is a really, I think it's nuanced and a little bit more complex than most of this kind of situation. You know, Claude Giroux has been a career-long Philadelphia Flyer. He's their captain. He's the heartbeat of the franchise. He's been their best player this year. Yeah. Like by 72,000 miles.
Yeah.
And
give or take a couple hundred.
Yeah. Might be more. And he's entrenched, right?
Yeah.
Like he's part of their fabric. He's part of but he's part of the organization's fabric. I mean, he's not on the Bobby Clark, Bill Barber, Bernie Perrant level.
Yeah.
But he's in that second tier of all-time Flyers with, you know, Eric Lindros and Eric Desjardins, guys like that.
Yeah.
You know, he's in that second tier of all-time great Flyers.
Right.
So what does he do then? Does he say, okay, I want to be a Flyer. I want to be part of the solution here. I want to fix this and, you know, try and win here? Or does he basically say, you know, it's kind of hopeless here.
Yeah.
And do I move on? So that's what he's going to discuss with Pat Brisson this weekend.
Yeah.
And they're going to come up with a strategy as to how they're going to move forward with this. This will be his call entirely.
Mm-hmm. If he has a no move.
Yeah, he has a no move.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Flyers, I know this for a fact, the Flyers will not pressure him to waive that no move. It's going to have to be his, you know, the impetus is going to have to come from him, you know? So, you know, like either way, I know the Flyers are okay with it. If Claude Giroux says I'm staying and don't trade me, even though they could get assets back for him, they'll be fine with it. And if he says, yeah, I think I want to move on, then they're going to do it. So, so he's the one driving the bus here. So it'll be entirely up to him. So that being said, I look at a team, which I think a good fit is the GM in Philadelphia, Chuck Fletcher, his old team, the Minnesota Wild.
Right.
They've been dying for a center. You know, I mean, with all due respect to, you know, Mike Hartman and Joel Eriksson-Ek and Nico Sturm and guys like that, they don't have anything even approximating a number one center.
No.
Like not even close.
No.
And I think that Giroux could be that guy. I think Claude Giroux could be the guy. Yeah, exactly. I think Giroux could be that guy. They've been dying for like someone, a centerman who can drive play and play both ends of the ice and create offense. I mean, they have guys who can do some of those things, but they don't have guys who can do all of those things. And Claude Giroux can do all of those things.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that's the place where there's the best fit. And to me, you know, I mean, I think it would take probably, you know, a Matthew Boldy type of situation. And I'm thinking maybe Matthew Boldy and say a second.
Right.
With Philadelphia taking on as much of the cap responsibility as they can.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you really want to push it and you want to get this guy in and you want to clear out salary, say you move Victor Rask the other way, who's on a $4 million deal in the last year of his deal. You move him to Philadelphia, and then maybe it goes to Boldy in a first rounder.
Yeah.
That's a high price. Like that's a high price, but you are getting Claude Giroux. And I think we also have to realize here is that this is purely a rental.
Yeah.
Like purely a rental.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to make any decision on where he's going until after the season. Like even if he stays in Philadelphia for the rest of this year, it's not like don't take that as, oh yeah, he's going to re-sign and he's going to be here for another X number of years.
Yeah.
He would like purely and truly be a 3-month rental.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you on the rental part. And of course, you know, it's this term is thrown around all the time, but it's never more cogent than it is with, or more applicable than it is with Claude Giroux, which is he has earned the right to choose his future.
He absolutely has.
Right. Yeah. I think that where there's a little bit of disparity is that I don't necessarily think that Claude Giroux is your number one center. I think that he could be on the first line as a wing, but not necessarily as a center. And as a center, he's better suited for the second or third line. But we did kind of have a similar thought process, which is looking at the team that is not at the top of their division, but has a tough sledding in the playoffs,
right,
so to speak, right?
Right.
And so I take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs as that team. They're in a division with Tampa and Florida. And they're going to have to go through one of those two guys, it seems. They're
both of them, probably.
Or potentially
both of them. Like,
exactly.
Like, almost certainly both of them.
Right. And when you look at the playoffs last year, and I know that a lot of people are on the bandwagon of Toronto needs defense, but when you look at the playoffs last year, it wasn't their defense that really sunk them, right? They weren't getting lit up for 8 goals a night. And now all due respect to the fact that Jack Campbell let in that one bad goal from Brendan Gallagher, the fact that they were even in that situation was because they weren't able to find the scoring, and especially with John Tavares being out of the lineup. Claude Giroux fits in as your third line center. Undisputed. And he, like I said last week about who is your Nick Bonino on your team, right? When Pittsburgh won the cup with Nick Bonino having a 30-goal season that year, and then he was the third line center. He is your Nick Bonino.
Okay.
He is an incredible offensive talent. He's pretty good defensively. He's either your third line center, or if your first line isn't going, then you can put him on your first line wing, your second line wing, or if a center gets injured, he can easily slot into that center spot, whether it's Tavares or Matthews. I just think that defense didn't sink them in the playoffs last year. Campbell is not having the best, go of it lately, but he's having a good year. Yeah. There's no reason to expect that he's going to collapse in the playoffs.
Why is there no reason to expect that? Why? Like no reason?
Okay.
I mean, he hasn't been great lately.
Yeah.
Like he's got 100 games.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sitting here saying, yeah, the same old. Jack Campbell's going to collapse in the playoffs and the Leafs will be out of the first round.
Yeah.
But to sit here and say there's no reason to expect that, I think there still is.
Let me recant that. There is no more reason to expect that Jack Campbell collapses than any other goalie not named Andrei Vasilevsky.
Right. Okay.
He's about as sure a thing as I could possibly guess for the playoffs. And as a matter of fact, you were listening in. I was just recording a podcast with Paul Campbell, and we were talking about Vasilevsky, and he was talking about how he always ramps it up towards the end of the year and into the playoffs. Other than Vasilevsky, there's very few goalies. I mean, Colorado's going in with Darcy Kemper. Do you take Darcy Kemper or do you take Jack Campbell?
I would. I don't know, because I don't think it matters as much in Colorado. They don't need superhuman goaltending.
No, you're
right. In the
right.
playoffs, they just need a goalie to be good. Yeah. That's all Colorado needs.
Yeah.
All Colorado needs in the playoffs is for Darcy Kemper to be good.
Right.
They don't need him to be great. Yeah. They don't need him to be otherworldly. They don't need him to steal a bunch of games.
Yeah.
They just need him to not lose games.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, but that's to my point, which is that it's essentially, it's a coin flip for Jack Campbell, Darcy Kemper. So I'm just saying that Campbell, there's no reason to expect other than just the fact that goaltending is difficult to predict notoriously.
Right.
So how do you make that money work? Obviously, we both are coming from a place of Philadelphia has to eat half the salary. There's no two ways about that. Yeah. Giroux doesn't move until Philadelphia does that. But Toronto has Peter Mrazek, and Philadelphia has Carter Hart, a young potential superstar goaltender that needs a solid backup / mentor. Peter Mrazek would be about as good a backup / mentor as I could think of. It does put Toronto into a very thin situation goaltending wise, but if it gets you Claude Giroux and you're not really worried about missing the playoffs at this point, if you're Toronto, then you muddle through with what you've got, and then you go with Jack Campbell, and you've got that Claude Giroux as your third line center or one of the top 6 wingers.
You've still got to go out and get a reliable veteran goaltender. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, but that could be Craig Anderson. That could be anybody. Like, I wouldn't be that concerned if you've got a number one horse.
You got zero depth in goaltending, and I'd be concerned. I would be concerned right now about Toronto's goaltending.
But what I'm saying is that even if your backup goalie is a guaranteed loss night, you've got a bit of a cushion in terms of your playoff picture.
Okay. Well,
right?
Team that hasn't won a round since 2003? Seriously, though, a team that hasn't won a playoff round since 2003 is going to say that?
Listen, I'm just being nice to Toronto because I live in Toronto and I don't want and I do a Habs podcast and I write for a Habs organization. I'm tired of getting beat up every time that I leave my house, okay?
Well, no, yeah, okay.
I want people to see me and say, "Yeah, that was the guy that was high on Toronto."
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the Toronto thing makes sense.
Yeah.
With Claude Giroux for sure.
Yeah.
If they can make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Money. Claude Giroux is making over $8 million this year.
Well, his cap hits, $8 million.
Pardon me. Yes, cap hit.
Salary's only $5 million, but his cap hits $8 million.
Yeah.
But you get down to March 23rd, you've got how much of the season left after that? You've got basically
about 28 games or something like that.
No, you've got season ends April 29th if it ends on time. So that gives you 29 days plus another 8, so 37 days.
Yeah.
So that mitigates it a bit because you're only taking on that portion of it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So moving on.
Or you just put a bunch of guys on LTI until the playoffs start. Oh, John Tavares.
$8 million over cap.
I hurt my knee.
$8 million over cap.
That's number one bullshit.
Yeah. It's like a friend of mine's big Leafs homer. He said if Toronto loses, this was going into the playoffs last year, he goes, if Toronto loses, this is a BS tournament. It's COVID. It asterisks behind the team. And if Toronto wins, then this was the hardest Stanley Cup to ever win, and this was the most important one that they could ever do. Right.
Right. Okay.
So, Colorado Avalanche going on to another team that really is in a very win now window. They are currently on pace for 127 points, which would tie them for 5th best point total in NHL history. Do you just hand them the Stanley Cup today?
No.
No. I feel like you set me up on that one because you wrote the question.
No, for any
it's
number.
It's a setup. I was framed.
I said those last night. You had a lot of time to think about this, Mr. Man.
Yeah.
I would say no for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you look at the top 10 teams in terms of points in a single season,
yeah,
only 3 of them went on to win the Stanley Cup, if you can believe that. And they were all...
Well, it's a curse of the President's Trophy, right?
They were all... Yeah, I don't know if that's a curse. I'm going to get into that.
Yes.
And they were all 3 of them were Montreal late 70s dynasty teams, okay? The 1930 Boston Bruins have the best winning percentage of all time, and they didn't win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
You look at the Edmonton Oilers, they're 4 Stanley Cup winning teams. Mm-hmm. Like they had 119 points one year, but they never piled up the points in the regular season. The Islanders, the 4 years they won, they did not bust their butts in the regular season to get over the finish line in first place.
Yeah.
And they would go on to win. So, and it's interesting. In 2019, I was in Tampa towards the end of the season, and I was in John Cooper's office, and we were chatting. And this was the year they put together the epic regular season and then collapsed in the playoffs. Yeah. And we were talking about, who do you pick for the Stanley Cup? And he said, well, and he said, well, like if you were a betting guy and you said, and somebody said, you can take either Tampa Bay or the Field, you're going to take the Field.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like teams that finish first overall, I don't think it's a curse. They win about 25% of the time. The President's Trophy team wins a Stanley Cup about 25% of the time. Mm-hmm. That's still the best odds of any team that finishes anywhere else in the league. So you still got the best odds of winning, but your path is, your path can be tough. And it is going to be tough in the Central Division with the Colorado Avalanche. Well, the first team they'll play will be the first wild card team, but it won't be easy. And I mean, let's not forget that the Carolina Hurricanes are on pace for 125 points themselves, which is not too bad either. Yeah. So no, I would not go giving the Stanley Cup to the Colorado Avalanche just yet. Yeah. Because there's just too many mitigating factors.
Yeah. There's a joke. It's apocryphal. It never really took place, but where Michael Jordan says to Steph Curry, "Hey, 73-9 is pretty good, but 74-9 is pretty good, but 73-10 has a better ring to it."
Nice.
I'm probably getting those lines mixed up, but
something like that.
The point is that yes, to your point, Tampa put up an incredible regular season. And I mean, as a goaltending guy, one of the best goalie performances was Halak saying to the Washington Capitals, "No thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think 2010 is that.
Yes.
2010, 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that team was, I think, 120 points.
Yeah.
That Washington team was like 120 points.
And those Habs sucked.
Yeah.
To be nice, they sucked. Right. So, it's especially in hockey comparative to other sports. And this is its own argument, but the game really does change in the playoffs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so a good regular season team does not equal a good playoff team. And you don't need to look any further back than the last 3 years of the New York Islanders being middling regular season teams and then walking to the playoffs and saying, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you.
Last 2 years. Yeah.
Right. And so, and of course, really coming within a hair's breadth away from beating the Tampa Bay Lightning in the conference final last year. It was overtime, I think it was. Overtime game 7.
Was it? I can't remember.
I think it was overtime game 7. Anyways, I remember thinking, wow, that was way better than Montreal did. Not to say that there was a very high bar there, but yes, I agree with you. You got to play the playoffs. Nathan MacKinnon is very fun to watch in the playoffs, and it should only be more fun the more pissed off he gets walking into the playoffs.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you. Finally, before we get out of here, we in our first ever episode talked about, so long ago as it was, talked about our favorite player to watch, the must-watch player of the year 2021. We are now in 2022. We are now halfway through.
No, it was who are we looking forward to seeing in 2022 or something like that, wasn't it?
No, it was the must-watch. Remember, it was the Ted Lasso or Squid Game, whatever it was of 2021. What do you have to watch?
Right.
But
yes.
You know, and what were we looking forward to watching? That was implied moving forward. But anyways, I want to change my answer. So I threw a little hissy fit with you, and I said I got to change my answer here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we're now halfway through the 2021-22 season. Who would you consider is the appointment?
I thought you were going to go first because you changed your thing.
Is it still Cale Makar for you?
It is. Yeah.
It is still Cale Makar.
Absolutely, without question.
Without question.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I love watching him play. Yeah. I just, because when I watch Cale Makar play, like I think of, okay, well, there's a chance he might do something really spectacular tonight.
Yeah.
But even if he doesn't.
Or just spectacular.
But even if he doesn't, just watching him play is like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to watch him play hockey.
Right.
Like the way he moves the puck, the way he skates, the way he walks the line, the decisions he makes, everything.
Yeah.
And I stand by my assertion from whatever podcast it was that
last week's.
He is one of the best pure goal scorers in the NHL. Not one of the best pure goal scoring defensemen in the NHL. He's one of the best pure goal scorers in the NHL.
Full stop.
Like a guy, like from the blue line, he's better than like Mike Green was in his prime. Like he's better than Chris Pronger at getting all those pucks through and finding the exact, the perfect spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love watching him play.
Yeah.
1-0 in game 7, not overtime, but 1-0 in game 7. That's what I was checking. So.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So it was within a goal.
Yeah.
I knew it was bloody close.
It was.
Yeah. Before I give my answer to that, I just want to throw the little plug in here. Subscribe, kencampbell.substack.com. Subscribe to this podcast. Reviews are appreciated. And of course, YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And now I will give my answer, which is I gave the answer of Connor McDavid. It just felt like an obvious answer. But more and more, Trevor Zegras is he's just something to watch. There is 2 nights ago, I think, I was flipping between the Edmonton game and the Ducks game, and Zegras scored. Oh, no. It was on 2 separate nights, but Zegras scored the Michigan against Montreal, and did it in full speed, full motion, just didn't stop, picked up the puck and went. And it was incredible to watch. And of course, he had 4 minutes of zone time with the puck on his stick by himself, right?
Guys do that to Montreal.
Yeah,
you ever notice that? You ever notice that guys go around? Kaprizov one time when they got just smoked by Minnesota.
Yeah,
there was one shift where Kaprizov took the puck, skated all the way around the zone, ragged it, looked around, skated all the way back down the other way.
Yeah,
it was just when is the Harlem Globetrotters music coming on?
Sweet Georgia Brown is what it's called. For those of you on Spotify at home, or not Spotify, don't do the Spotify. Yeah. They hate Neil Young for some reason. Yeah. We won't get into that whole thing. But no, I mean, even in other teams. So that, got me watching him more and more and more. And he's just so good to watch. And then I watched this McDavid goal where he was bursting up the left wing and then he just scored. And it was almost boring. It was just like, okay, great. So he's faster and stronger and better than everyone.
Yeah.
But Zegras doesn't necessarily have the physical gifts that McDavid has. And he just is smart. And he, really reminds me of like a prime Patrick Kane, maybe even better.
Wow.
Really? Maybe I don't want to say better, but maybe burgeoning on that.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's really interesting.
The way that Patrick Kane could get lost with the puck in the middle of everybody.
Yeah.
You'd see like 4 defenders converge. It'd be like this cartoon ball of arms and sticks and dust, right? And snow. And then all of a sudden Patrick Kane would come out and score a goal. And it almost looked like luck until you realize that he did that 30 other times.
Trevor Zegras, to me, he's really interesting because he's almost like, remember when the NBA had Showtime? That was their big sort of branding was Showtime, and they were doing what the NHL has refused to do for 100 years, and that is to promote their superstars.
Be interesting.
Yeah. And that was to promote their superstars. Yeah. So they had Showtime, Magic and Larry Bird and, all these individual performers, and they really pumped that up. Mm-hmm. I feel like Zegras is kind of that. He's kind of like Showtime.
Yeah.
What will be interesting to see is how that translates into, is he gonna do it consistently, and is he gonna be a top offensive player in the NHL?
Right.
And what's he going to do in the playoffs, right?
Right.
Because, you're not doing the Michigan in the playoffs. You're not doing it.
Wipe them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have the room and all that. So it'll be interesting to see if he can be both that matinee idol who can make these great, ridiculous, eye-popping plays that show up on on Sports Center for a week and a half straight.
Yeah.
How that translates over into consistency and being an impact player on a winning team. It'll be really interesting.
So to that point, I follow several skills coaches and stuff like that on Instagram, and a trend that's taking place right now that just pisses me off beyond any normalcy that it should be pissing me off is when somebody does an incredible move like the Michigan in the NHL, and then they will show you they'll do the move except on an empty rink with a few pylons scattered around. Now you can argue that David Savard is not much more than a pylon himself at the Michigan.
Ouch.
Boom.
Yeah.
But my point is to say is that bothers me to no end, because of course doing something in an NHL setting, and it's so great to this skills coach.
Right,
great. You've got NHL caliber hands.
Yeah.
You never made the show. You didn't even come close.
Right.
Don't act like this is the same thing. Right. And so to your point, doing that in the regular season and then doing that in the playoffs, and then going, of course, back to what we were just talking about with Colorado, 2 very, very different situations.
Yeah. Interesting, because after I think the Michigan, the Michigan pass, I thought that was more creative and innovative and interesting than the goal. Because a lot of guys are scoring the goal now. Not a lot of guys, but guys are scoring the goal right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing what he and Sonny Milano did.
Yeah, that was incredible.
And what I liked was you saw after for a week and a half, they'd have clips on Twitter and stuff of teams like trying it in the warm up and in practice.
Yeah.
And like it taking like 5 times for it to work with no goalie in the net, you know?
Yeah. And now you've got the fake Michigan. Was it Svechnikov the other day that looked like he was going to do a Michigan and then he just passed it out?
Oh, really?
Okay. No, it wasn't Svechnikov. Anyways, whatever. You've now got the fake Michigan where somebody looks like he's going to do the Michigan. Everybody gets, wants to not allow that to happen. And then it opens up some defensive coverage and you just pass it out for a one-timer. Like it's completely changed the game. It really reminds me of when you remember when Tomas Hertl scored between his legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember the old school, you can't do that.
That was his 4-goal game too.
Yeah.
That was his 4-goal game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When he first came in the end. I remember watching that as a goaltender and I'm thinking like, boy, if I've got to start worrying about pucks coming at me from that angle as well, this is a game changer.
Yeah.
Because it was a real goal. Yeah,
my
guys do it all the time.
Equipment's even going to have to get bigger.
Or better yet, just me. I'll just get bigger. Yeah. All right, Ken, before you get out of here, is there anything else you want to cover?
Am I angry about anything? No. No. We've got, you know what? Props to the NHL. I hate the All-Star game. That's well documented.
You?
Yeah, I hate everything about it.
Okay, but you still love preseason, right?
Oh, yeah, even more. But I like that they're. Did you see the shooting accuracy competition they're going to do?
Is that the blackjack one?
Yeah, I like
great.
that. I like that. I really like that. I think that's going to be fun to watch, and I actually might even watch that part of it.
Yeah,
because that to me is that you're in Vegas and you're trying to do all of these sorts of I think that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
The games will suck. That'll be horrible, and I won't even watch them for 1 second. But that I find compelling.
Their celebrity goalies I find compelling.
Manon Rhéaume and
that actor guy that apparently had a cup of coffee in the minors.
Oh yeah, Wyatt Russell.
Yeah,
that's Goldie Hawn's and Kurt Russell's son, isn't it? Yeah.
I think that's going to be interesting.
Why? What's so interesting about that?
I don't know. It'll be just fun.
There's no Chris Pronger there to smash Justin Bieber's face into the glass.
That's one national treasure and
and Justin Bieber.
And Justin Bieber. Yeah, exactly. That's where I was trying to go with it. Yeah. So, no, I think it'll be interesting because, I mean, it's the age-old question, right? What is the disparity between the pros and the
Joes? The
Joes, right?
Yeah.
And, you need not spend much time on YouTube before they'll start showing you, guy plays against pro players and all the rest of it, right? And so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, look, it's not going to be interesting enough to get me to watch it live.
Right.
But I might actually YouTube the highlights afterwards.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So just cut this part. It's like my brain was just buffering.
20%, 21%, 18%, 22%.
Maybe I won't cut that out. That was pretty funny. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. Check if you want this episode and you want all of this podcast directly in your inbox. Sign up for kencampbell.substack.com. Subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Comments are appreciated. And of course, good reviews are also appreciated. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.